Hello everybody out there watching on YouTube, and welcome to the second event of Daytona Speedweek here at the Daytona International Speedway. I'm Levi McIntyre, the voice of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, here to welcome you to the Gatorade Duels, but we're doing 2 duels, 10 laps apiece, so these are going to be very short races. Basically, the point of this season's Gatorade Duels, since we're not doing Daytona 500 qualifying anymore, we're just going to do the shootout, the duels, then the Daytona 500 in 1 week. I figured best to just do the duels to determine who's going to start where. So basically, whoever wins their respective duels will get to start on the front row for the Daytona 500 and vice versa. So duel number 1 is going to determine who's going to start on the pole as well as the inside line for the Daytona 500 itself. And then duel number 2 will determine who will start second and the outside line for the starting lineup of the Daytona 500 this Friday. But it's time for duel number 1, and we got a lot of new faces in this series that I kind of want to touch on a little bit here. So, top 10 starting lineup. On the pole for duel number 1 is Hannah Klein, who's a newcomer to not only the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, but NR Offline in general. And she's making her debut along with a brand new team called the Horseman Racing Team. So it's going to be interesting to see how she does along with her rookie teammates. Starting next to her is the defending series champion Rob Evans, who's coming off of a very, very successful Season 6, winning not only the championship, but also the Rookie of the Year honors. He's looking to go 2 in a row for championships, and this could be the start of that. Row 2, we have Kyle Matthews, who's actually owning his own team this season, the Kyle Racing Corporation. And Kyle Matthews, he's coming off of a rather abysmal Season 6. No wins, finished 37th in points. He's definitely looking to do better here in Season 7, especially for his own team. And then starting next to him is Carson Gum. Carson Gum finished 31st in points, so he had a pretty mediocre season. Despite winning a race, he just could not keep that consistency going. Row 3, we have Jonathan Zorline, who last season, I believe in his first season for Curtis McIntyre Racing, he had a breakthrough season. Got 2 wins, had a respectable amount of top 5s and top 10s, finished 8th in the championship standings, so he's definitely looking to do a lot better here in Season 7. Starting next to him is another rookie from Horseman Racing, Artur Castanha, all the way from Portugal. By the way, Hannah Klein from Germany, and then Artur from Portugal, so we got some international flair going for Season 7. Row 4, we have Dylan Young, who had a rather abysmal season in Season 6. Despite winning a race, he finished 35th in the point standings. Definitely a season he wants to forget about. And then starting next to him is a driver who had a very successful Season 6, and that is Caleb Kilburn, who got 3 wins last season and 9th in the championship standings and a respectable amount of top 5s and top 10s. He's definitely looking to try and get the championship here in Season 7. Then row 5, we have Charles Sandfer, who last season had a very mediocre season, didn't win a race, finished 27th in points. So we'll see how he does here in Season 7. And then starting next to him is Benjamin Miles, and Benjamin Miles had a great season back in Season 6, was a championship contender for a good majority of the season, got a win, finished 4th in the championship standings. Definitely looking to try and get that long-awaited championship for himself. Row 6, we have Zachary Fitzwater, and Zachary Fitzwater last season had an okay season, top 20 in points, 19th to be exact, but just couldn't get that win for himself. And then starting next to him is Jordan Forbes in his second full-time season for the Marvel Studios Cup Series, as he had a terrible rookie season, 39th in the point standings, next to the last in the standings. hopefully he can put that behind him and have a successful Season 7. Row 7, in fact, we have Cody Lamas in his second return season, who, despite winning a race, had a pretty bad season, finishing 29th in points. Definitely wanted to do better here in Season 7. And then starting next to him is the Season 5 champion, Dylan Jacobs, who went winless last season and finished 34th in points. Definitely not the season he was hoping for to defend his Season 5 championship, but he still has a chance to try to get a second championship. We'll just have to wait and see how he does all season long. Row 8, we have Rafael Fireblade, another rookie out of Horseman Racing, joining the fray. And then next to him is Chris Dollarton. And Chris Dollarton in Season 6 rather, had a pretty solid season, 13th in points, didn't get a win but had some consistent runs. Maybe this season he can break his winless streak. Row 9, we have Joey Parkhill, who was a rookie in Season 6, got a win, but didn't do that well in the point standings, 33rd in points, definitely looking to do better. And then starting next to him is rookie Clint Spillman, who I've heard so much about in our offline competition, but he's making his first official season start this Friday in the Daytona 500, so we'll see what Spillman has in store. And then in the final row for duel number 1 are the Rogers clan, as I'm going to call them whenever they start next to each other. First, Jake Rogers. Now, Jake Rogers had an interesting off-season, even though in Season 6 he didn't fare all that well, 22nd in points. But he had an interesting offseason. At one point, he considered retiring, but has since decided to come back for Season 7, so he remains in that number 87 car. Good on him to continue on. And then starting last is Zach Rogers, making his return to the Marvel Studios Cup Series competition. I can't remember off the top of my head when it was the last time we saw Zach Rogers race in this series, but it's good to have him back, and we'll see what he can do for his own team of Bulldog Motorsports this season. But with that being said, that is your starting lineup for the Gatorade Duel number 1 race. Let's get the command to fire engines for Gatorade Duel number 1 at Daytona.
Drivers, start your engines!
So one thing you notice with all of the Horseman Racing teammates, they are all running matching paint schemes, but with a different band representing. So Hannah Klein has Mugwa for her band, Rafael Fireblade has Rammstein, Artur Castanha is running with Iron Maiden on the car, and then their fourth teammate, who's going to be in duel number 2, Ricky Karaman, is in the same scheme, but with AC/DC on the car. Now, a couple of quick minor changes that were done to how this race is going to play out is because now that it's in the daytime, we might see it might be a bit slick, but also I noticed during the shootout back on Monday that whenever you were running very high on the racetrack, coming off of turn 2, you would get the outside wall a little bit. I'm hoping now with the computer strength lowered 5% more, or lowered by 5 more percent, maybe we won't see that as much, but we'll have to wait and see, considering they are going to be going a little bit slower than they were in the shootout. But nonetheless, the pace car should be pulling into pit road at any moment, and he does. And you know what that means, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to boogity 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 go racing. So Jonathan Zorling storms the gate first by leading the first lap here in the Gatorade Duel number 1. 9 more laps to make it around, as like I said, these duel races are fairly short, all things considered. And I was double checking to make sure everyone was still in the pack. Zorling has the lead for now, but Dylan Young got a full head of steam. And I thought it looked like Zachary Fitzwater was going to try and help his teammate and boss out, but the 19 of Carson Gumman, that Gary's Mod number 19, decided to shut the door on the run Fitzwater had to keep them from working together. But Dylan Young still got to lead that lap, but Carson Gum trying to use the bottom, but just didn't have any draft help, and he left that lane open for Cody Lamas to try and take that spot. And I love the paint scheme that I did make for Cody Lamas, the classic Alan Kowicki Hooters scheme, as Kyle Matthews got the outside wall again, so it looks like even with the lowering of the computer strength, didn't really help out much, and something's wrong with I thought it looked like Dylan Jacobs was about to get the wall, but he's trying to hang on to it as he's still in the pack. But he's going to have to really reel him in very fast, otherwise he could lose the draft. But anyways, Dylan Young leads 2 laps in a row, 3 wide for the lead. Teammates working underneath Dylan Young, Cody Lamas in the middle, but Zach Rogers, who started dead last, already up to the top spot on the racetrack. And again, I heard cars scraping the outside wall. I do wonder what could happen, perhaps, if for the Daytona 500 I lowered the computer strength a little bit more and see how that would turn out. Because I do have some fears that perhaps if someone gets that outside wall off of turn 2 hard enough, it could cause a crash. But nonetheless, I'm not worried about that very much right now, as Cody Lamas actually now finally got to lead a lap. But look who's coming to try and take the position, rookie Raphael Fireblade, in that number 52 Horseman Podcast Rammstein car. Although he didn't quite get enough draft help to try and take the spot, as Jordan Forbes going a little 2-car tandem with Cody Lamas to try and keep him ahead, but Lamas going to block the bottom lane to keep that top spot on the racetrack. Because remember, for tracks such as Daytona and Talladega along those lines, they're running the same restrictor plate package we ran in Season 6 that worked out so well to the point where we had some of the best restrictor plate racing ever seen on this channel. And we're keeping that way, or we're keeping it that way here for Season 7. And we're seeing some good action up here at the front, a lot of shuffling towards the front of the field. Maybe not so much for the lead, but as I say that, Jordan Forbes actually gets a huge run on the bottom to try and take the lead away from Cody Lamas, followed right behind by Joey Parkhill in the 38, Zev Bellringer Ford out of Zev Bellringer Enterprises. His wife and teammate Melissa Alexander we'll see in duel number 2. So unfortunately he's kind of by himself, even though he's got a couple of affiliates with him, because remember, Zev Bellringer Enterprises is in affiliation closely with Average Joe Enterprises, meaning drivers like Caleb Kilbird and Clint Spillman and company who are in this race are kind of teammates to the 38. But Jordan Forbes up here at the front with his boss and teammate Dylan Jacobs right behind him. Good cooperation we're seeing among different teams that are in this race, as you see Kamikaze Racing working fairly well together, and the Horseman Racing is working fairly well together. And look at that side of Kyle Matthews' car. He has gotten the wall off of turn 2 twice in this race, but he's still very, very competitive. But we're going to have a new leader, and that's Artur Castanha from Portugal in that Horseman Podcast Iron Maiden paint scheme, as Jordan Forbes this time was the one to get the outside wall. But it doesn't affect his speed very much. as when we get to the line, it will be 2 more laps left in duel number 1, and then shortly after the burnout of whoever wins this race, we'll get to duel number 2. Carson Gum with a close block on Jake Rogers still barely manages to hold on to the spot as it's less than 2 laps to go now in duel number 1. Right now, Artur Castanha leads, with Carson Gum trailing behind him by a half a car length, almost. As that suck-up in the draft really works out, as Carson's now right to the back bumper of the 32, kind of giving him a push to try and pull away from everyone, but more contenders is Dylan Young, who led a couple of laps early on. He's trying to get up there. Rafael Fireblade now up to 4th. Maybe is he going to try to go for the win himself or help his teammate Artur Castanha keep the lead, as the white flag is displayed here at Daytona for Gatorade Duel number 1. Artur Castanha holding off the lead, holding off for the lead very, very strongly. He's just going to have to keep blocking. He's going to have to really mirror drive it throughout the backstretch. More cars getting that outside wall off of turn 2. Dylan Young tried to go underneath Carson Gum, but had no help in the draft, and that's going to cost him. It's going to be 3 wide for 3rd. Carson Gum does not go to the bottom going into turn 3 to take the spot from the 32 of Castanha. And it looks like nothing's going to stop the 32. Checkered flag waving. Winner of duel number 1, the pole sitter for the Daytona 500 is Artur Castanha. Already first season in this series, huge accomplishment, winning Gatorade Duel number 1, and will start on the pole for the Daytona 500 this Friday. Great job on the part of that number 32 car. Really, really incredible job. And for a rookie, being able to hold off everyone as well as he did is quite impressive, I must say myself. But nonetheless, congratulations to Artur Castanha, as we will get to his burnout momentarily as we await for everyone. I think everybody has officially crossed the start-finish line, so that's good. But let's take a look at the rest of the results, as Carson Gum came through with a 2nd place finish. I don't know if he just didn't want to go for the move, or he just didn't have the car to really make that happen, but still gets a great run in 2nd, and will get to start 3rd in Daytona 500, so that's a good position for him to be at. Cody Lamas with a solid performance in 3rd, and will start 5th in the Daytona 500. Jonathan Zorline, who finished in the 4th position, he will start 7th, I believe, in the Daytona 500. Zach Rogers finishing in 5th. He will get to start 9th in the Daytona 500. Kyle Matthews, despite damaging his car, wasn't out of the race, so he'll still get to start 11th in the Daytona 500. Dylan Young going to get to start 13th. Charles Sanford will start 15th. Dylan Jacobs will start 17th, and Caleb Kilburn will start 19th. Jake Rogers will start 21st. Joey Parkhill will start 23rd. Rafael Fireblade will start in 25th. Benjamin Miles will start 27th. Clint Spillman will get to start 29th. Rob Evans will get to start 31st. Jordan Forbes will get to start 33rd. Chris Dollarton will start 35th. Hannah Klein will start 37th. And then Zachary Fitzwater, unfortunately, is going to start in the final row in the 39th position. So, as you're watching Artur Castanha's burnout, you will see for just a brief moment the final results of duel number 1 to remind you as to where everyone finished and where they'll start in the Daytona 500. But stick around, coming up next is Gatorade Duel number 2. Hello and welcome back, as we're getting set for Gatorade Duel number 2, as we're going to determine who will start 2nd in the Daytona 500, as well as who will start on the outside row for their respective rows in the Daytona 500. So we got the other 20 drivers who were not in duel number 1 competing for the spot to get second starting position in the Daytona 500. So let's take a look at the starting lineup for this race and give a little brief rundown of them. So on the pole for duel number 2 is Raphael Leduc. Now, Raphael Leduc last season, despite getting 2 wins, had a pretty terrible season 6, to say the least, finishing 28th in points. Definitely looking to rebound here in season 7, especially now that he's a part of a new team in Young Motorsports. Starting next to him is Cole Baker. Now, Cole Baker in season 6, he had a decent season, 15th in points, did get a win, and that was his rookie season, might I add. This season, he returns for a second season and is a part of Backmarker Motorsports. Row 2, we have Jay Jefferson, who's now a part of the Kyle Racing Corporation, just to kind of change things up for himself. Last season, despite getting a win, 23rd in points, nothing really to write at home about. Maybe he'll do better here in season 7. Starting next to him is a rookie, Alyssa Drayson, who's from New York but lives in Switzerland, so somewhat international, not really, but you get the idea, as she's a part of Average Joe Enterprises this season. Row 3, actually, we have Henry Sandfer, who has been in several different series on this channel in the past, but this is his first season for NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series action, so we'll see how he fares in this series. Starting next to him is James Shelley. Now, James Shelley, let's just say last season was a season he'd like to forget about. 38th in points. Let's just move on. Row 4, we have Joshua Sekuli, who last season had a, mediocre season at best. He got a win, but was 21st in points. But because he's still with Curtis McIntyre Racing, but he has a different number and a different paint scheme, maybe that'll light a fire under him. Starting next to him is Julia Catron, who's from Iceland, of all places. Newcomer, we'll see how she fares. Row 5, we have Jesse Turner, who is a name I've heard all about in other leagues. Well, he's a rookie here this season for Marvel Studios Cup action, so we'll see how he does. And then starting next to him is a driver who was a mainstay back in the Walmart Cup Series days, making his long-awaited return, Ryan Acosta, in his first season in the Marvel Studios Cup Series. So he's going to be, I'm going to consider him a favorite to go for Rookie of the Year honors. So we'll see what Ryan Acosta does in his return to this channel. Starting in row 6, we have James Qualls, and Qualls last season, he had a rather less than stellar season 6. He did get a win, and if I recall, it was at the Denver Roval, and it was the most bizarre finish to a race I had ever seen in the history of NR 2003. I'm sure some of you guys who saw that race last season will know what I'm talking about. And starting next to him, ironically, is the driver that lost that race because of a pit stall being one stall short of the finish line, and that's Jessica Sheldon. But aside from that, Jessica Sheldon back in Season 6 had an amazing season. 3 wins, second in points, nearly won the championship, but just came up short to Rob Evans. Can she redeem herself and get the championship this season? That is the question. Row 7, we have DJ Curtis, who switching numbers up for his team. Instead of running the 4, he's running the 33. And now last season, he had a really good season. 1 win, though, but got 7th in the point standings. So he's definitely looking to try and do a lot better with a different number. And then starting next to him is Michael Norman. Now, Michael Norman last season, he won the Daytona 500 in Season 6. Can he go 2 in a row in the Daytona 500? we'll see, as he not only won that race, but he got another win, got 16th in the point standing. So pretty solid first season for the return of Michael Norman back in Season 6. Then row 8, we have Seth Cole. Now, Seth Cole in Season 6 had a decent season, 14th in points, did get a win, but can he do better is the question. Starting next to him is Johnny Gardner, and Johnny Gardner last season had a pretty bad season, 30th in points, but with a different number, we'll see what happens. Starting next to him, however, is Cole Deaver. Or actually, no, that's the start of row 9. Cole Deaver starting 17th in row 9. Cole Deaver last season was a favorite to win the championship for the majority of the first half of Season 6, but just kind of fell apart in the second half and finished 12th in the points, but did get a win, so maybe he can keep that momentum going forward here in Season 7. And then starting next to him is the final Horseman Racing driver we haven't talked about, and that's Ricky Carmen, all the way from Texas. And again, first full-time season, we'll see what he can bring to the table. And then starting in the final row, we have Matt McIntyre, who in Season 6 had a less than stellar season, 24th in points, went winless. Let's see if he can come back from that. And then starting last in the duel is Melissa Alexander, who last season had a okay first rookie season, got a win, finished 18th in points. Question is, can she rebound from Season 6? We'll find out. As ladies and gentlemen, it is time to get the final command of the race for duel number 2 here at Daytona.
Drivers, start your engines!
Now, for duel number 2, I decided to actually lower the CPU strength a little bit, lower it to 80%, to see if that can solve the problem off of turn 2, where the driver's running the very high line of the track when they get that into the safer barrier. I'm hoping that perhaps that will be solved with the 80% instead of 85%. We'll see how that's going to turn out. So they're going to be going a little bit slower than they were in duel number 1 or the Bud Shootout for some drivers. But Rafael Leduc on the pole for duel number 2. Rafael Leduc, and probably one of my favorite paint schemes I made for Season 7, and that's the throwback 2006 to 2008 Jimmy Johnson Lowe's paint scheme. Again, running for Young Motorsports this season, and unfortunately for him, he's the only Young Motorsports driver in duel number 2, as the rest of them we saw in duel number 1. Pace car into pit road. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing again. Jay Jefferson was able to strike first and lead the first lap here in duel number 2. Now keep this in mind, the top 3 drivers in the final starting lineup do get bonus points, as Seth Cole got the outside wall, so I guess even 80% doesn't fix that issue. But I forgot to mention this too, with how the points work. If you start in the top 3 in the race during qualifying, you will get bonus points. However, yeah, Carson Gum was definitely the lucky one to finish second in duel number 1 and gets to start third in the Daytona 500. So basically how the qualifying bonus points go, 3 bonus points goes to the pole sitter, 2 bonus points go to the second place starter, and 1 point to the third place starter. So Carson Gum definitely got a huge advantage over people who are going to finish second or worse in duel number 2. So, lucky break for him. So whoever wins this race will start second and will get those 2 bonus points for starting second in the Daytona 500. So Artur Castanha got lucky to get that win in duel number 1 to get those 3 valuable bonus points, as I apologize for a little frame droppage. I had to close something that was in the background. Julia Cadron led that lap, but look who's underneath of her. The defending Daytona 500 winner, Michael Norman, running the Ben Rhodes Haviland scheme, but it's Haviland and NXT as the sponsor. As Henry Sanford gets the outside wall a little bit right there. Luckily, though, regardless of the opponent's strength, it seems like even if you do get the wall, it really doesn't affect your drive really that much, which is a good thing. But nonetheless, Michael Norman currently in the race lead as he has a little bit of a gap between himself and second place. And speaking of second place, that's about to be a highly contested battle, as Johnny Gardner's stuck in the middle, Alyssa Drayson on the outside, Rafael LeDuc on the inside. But Alyssa Drayson using the outside to come down in front of the 24, but didn't have enough room to block the 62 of LeDuc, as LeDuc tries to get the bottom lane to go, but just not enough cars to really push him. And speaking of the bottom, here comes Melissa Alexander in the 28, who started last in this event, now up to second with a huge push from James Qualls in the 70. And Alyssa stuck her nose underneath the left rear quarter panel of Michael Norman to try and let him know, hey, I'm right here. I'm here to take your spot. And Melissa Alexander, with that push from Jay Jefferson now, is going to be able to get to the race lead, at least for the time being. Although she goes up to the outside. Oh, did I see a car go to the... I thought I saw a car get spun down to the inside wall, but I guess I was just seeing stuff. But Jay Jefferson now takes the top spot. And he led the first lap of duel number 2, and right behind him, right on his trail, is Cole Baker in the number 18. Very unique number font that the Backmarker Motorsports drivers are running here for Season 7. They may switch the font for Season 8, and we'll see what that looks like when we cross that bridge. As quite a few cars actually got the outside wall coming off of turn 2. And that really slowed down some progress. What in the world's going on? Julia Cadron and Cole Deaver got the outside wall entering turn 3. And then Michael Norman went way up high off of 4. But anyways, it's 3 more laps left here in Gatorade Duel number 2 as Jay Jefferson hangs on to the race lead for now. Right behind him, it's a battle for second as Matt McIntyre comes out of nowhere as he's trying to reel in for that top position. As Cole Baker got the wall, and I want to say that's DJ Curtis. Yeah, it was DJ Curtis who got the outside wall for a long time in turn 2. But Matt McIntyre actually made a pass going into turn 3. Has a bit of an advantage off of turn 2, but Jay Jefferson trying to use the outside to hold them off and still led that lap. 2 laps to go here in Gatorade Duel number 2, and Matt McIntyre trying to use the inside to take the top spot away from the 5. Right now, it's like both lanes are fairly evenly matched, but Matt McIntyre gets left hanging as he's stuck by himself in the middle, and Jay Jefferson with that huge push from Jessica Shelton going to keep that spot as Johnny Gardner takes second away. As Jay Jefferson maintains the lead, for now at least. As DJ Curtis actually lost a lot of time. As the white flag is out, tough break for DJ Curtis as it looks like he will be the one to start dead last in the Daytona 500 this Friday. But Jay Jefferson hanging on for now with the race lead, but right behind him is Julia Catron in the 26, right on his tail. She tries to go to the inside and has a big run as she got some help from both James Qualls and Cole Deaver, but Cole Deaver didn't quite have enough momentum to go to the inside of the 26. It doesn't look like anybody's going to stop the 26 car, but they're 4 wide off of turn 4. That can't end well, but regardless, checkered flag waving. Julia Catron wins Gatorade Duel number 2, and they crash behind them. Multi-car accident. Luckily, though, because the race is over, it doesn't matter. Where they finished is where they're going to get the start in the Daytona 500. But I figured once I saw them go 4 wide off of turn 4, I thought something was going to happen. But congratulations to Julia Catron, who's going to start second in the Daytona 500, right next to pole sitter Artur Castanha. But regardless, let's take a look at the rest of the results and see where everyone else will line up on the outside for the Daytona 500. So Michael Norman, the defending winner, is going to start 4th in the Daytona 500. Cole Deaver will start 6th. Joshua Sekuli will start 8th. Alyssa Drayson will start 10th. James Qualls will start 12th. Henry Sanford will start in 14th. Jay Jefferson will start 16th. James Shelley will start 18th. And Ryan Acosta will start 20th. Jesse Turner will start 22nd. Cole Baker will start 24th. Jessica Shelton will start 26th. Johnny Gardner will start 28th, and Matt McIntyre will start 30th. Melissa Alexander will start 32nd. Rafael Leduc will start 34th. Ricky Carmen will start 36th. Seth Cole will start 38th, and DJ Curtis will start in 40th, last, essentially, for the Daytona 500. As you're watching Julia Catron's burnout to celebrate her victory in Duel number 2, you will now see in a moment the official starting lineup for the Daytona 500 this Friday. Thank you guys so much for watching the Gatorade Duels. I will see you this Friday for the Daytona 500, as this is Levi McIntyre signing off.